So the stats people at Opta have been putting together their Club World 15, which is a mixture of their own stats, which they haven't really shared in any great detail, and kind of a fans vote on Twitter, at least I've seen, to pick a Club World 15. So for each position, start with the backs because the backs are all out. They're still working on the forwards. But for each position, they've named a handful of players who, according to Opta's stats, are the best in the world, basically, from major club competitions like Pro 14, Top 14, Premiership, Super Rugby, and the Champions and Challenge Cups. Best in their positions. So they've narrowed it down to a handful, and then they let the public vote on which one should fill that spot. So it's not international games, but it's their club form in any of those competitions. So it doesn't include guys playing outside of those major competitions, and it doesn't include internationals. But I figure we'll go have a look, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on Opta's team, because often when there's purely stats-based teams, they can look a bit ridiculous, but this has got the human intervention of the fans, which may either save it or condemn it. We will see. I should say it's from the start of 2019 through till now, until lockdowns. So, yeah, that's kind of the time period we're talking about. Right, we'll start with the nines. Opta narrowed the nines down to Ali Price, Andy Uren. Is it Uren? Has he played for Bristol? I'll put my hand up and say I don't really know the guy. Antoine Dupont, Cobus Reinach, George Horn, John Cooney, Luke McGrath, and Tate McDermott. So I know all of those fellas except really Andy. I mean, I only really watched the Champions Cup, so most of those guys who are playing in the Challenge Cup or the other teams in the Premiership, I probably don't see much of them. I mean, I see every now and again, but I admit that's me. All the other guys I think I'm fairly familiar with, so either from internationals or from their club teams. So those are the guys who Opta chose based on their stats at club level, and their podium, which is the three guys selected as the top by the fans. Third was George Horn. Second was John Cooney, and it's kind of hard to argue with his club form. But number one was Antoine Dupont, and he's a pretty top player, isn't he? I kind of didn't see any huge surprise about that one. Tate McDermott has been in great form for the Reds in Super Rugby. If you haven't seen him, if you don't watch Super Rugby, you won't have seen him. You'll be the same as me with this Andy Uren guy. Tell me about him, because I really don't know. But yeah, all the other guys, I can see why Dupont's the number one. The 10 jersey, Opta narrowed that one down to Adam Hastings, Bowden Barrett, Finn Russell, George Ford, Andre Pollard, Jared Evans, Matthew Jalibert, and Richie Mo'unga. A fair few classy players there. In terms of the guys that were chosen, Bowden Barrett came in at third. Andre Pollard, World Cup winner, came in second, admittedly for the Bulls, and that's why I've got that jersey hanging there. He had a pretty phenomenal season in 2019. But number 10 jersey, the number 10, went to Finn Russell. Now remember, this is as chosen by fans. So the list is compiled by Opta. The decision is voted on, and the number one votes pick whoever gets the number one spot. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty lethal combination. I like that. Inside center, there's a bin going to go down my driveway. I haven't had one of those for a while. Inside center, they had Anton Leonard-Brown, Damien Delende, Matt Scott, Nani Laumape, Nick Tompkins, Robbie Henshaw, and Samu Karevi, Stuart McCloskey. And it's an interesting one because McCloskey has not made the top three, but from what I've seen of him from Ulster's season, he has been in phenomenal form. Laumape, I think a lot of All Blacks fans were disappointed he didn't make the All Blacks World Cup squad. ALB's been good, but not good enough for the top three. Third was Nick Tompkins, recent run with the Welsh side. Second was Damon Delende, had a great World Cup campaign. But number 1 went to Samu Karevi. And I mean, I've done a fair bit of analysis of that guy from Super Rugby, and his numbers are phenomenal. They are not complete. Like, he is defensively sometimes quite suspect, but all his other numbers are pretty much universally fantastic. I mean, he's not a great kicker of the ball, but he does amazing things ball in hand, crunches, tackles, offloads, all kinds of stuff. So he is a very impossible player to replace, essentially, once he left the Queensland Reds. Outside centre, they narrowed it down to Tui Silva, Vakatawa, Fiku, Ringrose, Rob Thompson from Super Rugby, Ollie Lawrence, Sofian Gatoon, and Semi Randradra. So there's a few kind of Fijian names in that lineup, perhaps unsurprisingly. Third, Ollie Lawrence got there. Now, he plays for Worcester, from what I understand, kind of one of those highlight reel up-and-coming guys. Again, a guy I haven't seen a lot of, but from by all accounts, he sounds pretty exciting. Second was Vakatawa, who we should all be pretty familiar with. But outside centre went to the Semi. Rad. Hold on a second. I'll fix that. Right. There's his name. It's always a bit confusing because from what I've been told, it's not pronounced Radradra, but it's Randra. It's a Fijian thing where invisible ends get inserted into some words, like Nandi instead of Nadi, the city. Anyway, pretty hard guy to argue with in terms of being just an absolute monster of a player. So far, I think offensively, and that seems to be the flavour, like very attacking number 10, very attacking number 12, very attacking number 13. That seems to be the flavour, and Dupont himself was also a pretty attacking number 9 as well. The outside backs, I can hear my daughter outside. She wants to see this team from Opta as well. If you go with the wingers, it's kind of an interesting one. Big list because I got 2 spots to fill. Alapati Leua, I haven't seen him since he left Super Rugby, but he was a blockbusting runner when he had ball in hand as well. Piwa Dianti is on the list, which is kind of surprising given the drugs things that has had him suspended from the game. I would have thought maybe you could have cut him, but I guess based on the numbers, he is there. Cheslin Colby, Darcy Graham, Duan van der Merwe, George Bridge, Jack Knoll, Johnny May, Lewis Reese Zamet, Namani Nandolo. There's another invisible N in his name. Rico Iwane, Santiago Cordero, Severis Takele, Nayaravoro, Teddy Toma, and Tom O'Flaherty. So there's a fair few top class wingers in that lot. Obviously, it's double the number given they're going to fill 2 positions. Third spot went to Nayaravoro, which is an interesting one because he is a hugely, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but he's very, very good ball in hand going forward and very, very suspect going the other way. But yeah, that seems to be the flavour, right? Fans pick attacking players. But second came in with Rico Iwane. And first came in Cheslin Colby, which is a pretty mean set of wingers. I would have thought, based on 2019, Iwane wasn't at his top form. Like he lost his spot in terms of his All Black selection. The Blues kind of messed around with him in terms of playing him in the midfield as well. But there you go. Those are your wingers. And fullbacks, there was Piatau, Bouthier, Ramo, Havili, Geordie Barrett, Johnny McNichol, Nanai, and Thomas Larangira, who is another one, I think, only from top 14 from Briev, I think. I don't really know him at all, but again, I watched a couple of his highlights, and he seems like a pretty exciting player. Some proper class fullbacks here, like Bouthier with that boot of his, is a pretty effective player, but in terms of fans picking exciting players, unless you're excited by the guy kicking at 70 metres, I'm not sure that he's going to be a proper contender. They had 2 guys come in equal for third. It was Malani Nanai and Johnny McNichol, and Nanai had his proper best season for the Blues in 2019, so I kind of agree with that. Haven't seen him much since he went to the Northern Hemisphere, but I'm assuming he's still in good form. Johnny McNichol came in third equal with him. I've seen a little bit of Johnny McNichol playing. Obviously, he's in the Welsh squad now, but generally he's always been pretty class too. Geordie Barrett came in second in terms of the fullbacks. Got a big boot on him. Kind of a controversial one. I can't imagine there's that many Kiwis that vote for him. Like, we are very critical of that guy in New Zealand, I guess, because he's got a famous brother. He's had a couple of kind of brain fart moments when he's been in the All Blacks jersey. So, but he's looked pretty good for the Hurricanes, who he plays for here in Super Rugby. But number one came in as Charles Piutau, which kind of Johnny May didn't even make the top 3, 4. For wingers, outside backs. I got given a fair bit of stick for not picking him in my Lions team the other day, but I guess all the guys that came through were not Lions eligible guys, so maybe that's kind of part of it. I think he was the next pick out of these guys. So yeah, that's the Opta team, which was narrowed down by Opta stats and chosen by the fans. Like I said, I think horrendously attacking side. In a good way, right? This team, these backs, would be very, very dangerous and not all around defensively poor. At least if you got Dupont there, that kind of matches Finn Russell, and that like Finn Russell tends to like somebody else to do the goal kicking for him. I don't know what his goal kicking stats are like. He usually seems to play in a team with a kicking 9, so that's fine. Karevi and Randrandra, I would not envy the team. Imagine the 10 having to face those guys down. You'd want to be a good tackler and some proper pace and power in those outside backs as well. Defensively, I mean, Colby will tackle all day long and tackle anybody, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's been picked as an all-round or well-rounded team, but it's still a pretty bloody good look at a list of players, isn't it? They've got the forwards under voting at the moment, so if you go to Johnny Opta on Twitter, you can vote for some of the guys in those forwards positions. But yeah, we'll see what the forwards look like in a few days. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on these guys. Who else do you think is an omission from the entire list? And who do you think maybe should have been picked instead of these guys amongst those guys for those final spots? But yeah, cheers guys, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.